I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com, and today I wanted to talk about parents and their drinking, and parents encouraging their children to drink, right? Now, I'm not saying that there's any parent out there, although I know there are many, but I'm not tarring anyone with a brush of doing this, but there are a lot of people who sort of would deliberately give their children alcohol to drink and sort of try and instill the habit. I know this happens a lot in certain European countries, right? It's a watered down version of what the real stuff is, but it's still a version of it, right? And it's still introducing this toxin to a child's body and to their brain, and more importantly to their culture, right? To their individual culture, to their mind and what they think about alcohol. We learn through imitation, right? All of us learn through imitation, mostly. It's all by either copying what somebody else has said, what somebody else has done, mostly, and what we read in books, what we see on the screen, but mostly what we encounter as we're growing up. I reckon by the time you're 5 or 6 years old, maybe even before, a lot of your most fundamental ideals, most of that fundamental culture will have been set by then. What you believe is true. Your most fundamental beliefs in life are going to be set by that time. By the time you get to very young, anyway. I mean, I can't be sure of the specific date. So mum and dad are your first teachers. They're the ones that teach you sort of the basics of the most fundamental stuff, the basics of what you're going to carry with you through the rest of your life. If little Johnny sees mummy and daddy drinking, then he sees that as being normal. That's it's going to be a normal thing for him, imprinted into his brain. I love there's a topic called neuroplasticity, and talking about how your brain changes and how you can change your brain. But there are certain parts of your brain which are indelibly fixed from an early age, right? This science is in its it's very junior. It's not advanced at all yet. A lot of this is based around MRI imaging and how they see the brain lighting up, the brain activity to certain stimuli, right? To certain the way we think and the way we emote, and it's telling scientists a lot about how our brain is responding, right? But it's not very precise, right? You're seeing colours and you're seeing electrical activity, but it's very basic stuff. So a lot of this stuff might change as we progress. But to get back to the point of parents teaching the children how to drink, all kids are going to learn through imitation, through imitating their parents. The parents are the first teachers, and we sort of send out mixed signals as well. By the time the kid gets older, they've got a healthy disrespect for a lot of the drugs that are around. I never tried heroin. I tried a lot of different drugs, but I never tried heroin because that was the one thing that I always saw as being the most dangerous drug around. Once you started on that, you were going to end up being an addict and living in a squat that was filthy and had shit all over the place, and had addicts around who just didn't care about themselves or anybody else, and all they wanted to do was go out and steal to find the next fix. That's what I envisioned if I ever started out on heroin, and all it would take would be one injection or one to chase the dragon once, and I'd be hooked for the rest of my life. I'd be on the slippery slope, and it wouldn't take long before I was down there, right? And I know that now to be false, but I'm glad for that teaching, right? Because it made me steer clear from heroin. And I've been offered heroin plenty of times, and I've been offered heroin plenty of times, right? So, and it was always the thing was, not only did it make me steer clear of the heroin, it made me steer clear of the person who was fucking offering me the heroin, right? It made me sort of think of them. You're a bastard, I don't fucking like you at all. Why would you even try and get me taking that stuff? I thought you liked me, You're trying to kill me. And I've read a lot of stuff since, so I know that those facts are not true. But like I say, help me to steer clear of the stuff, And I wish it had been the same with alcohol. Now, I'm not for prohibition, right? I don't believe in that you can stop people from taking stuff by merely saying to them, you're not allowed to take this and we'll put you in prison for doing that, right? But what I'm talking about is basic education. We have to start this education in our homes by not encouraging our children to drink, by not drinking ourselves. If you don't, you can get a kid to eat fruits and vegetables by feeding them fruits and vegetables when they're young, right? You can get a kid to have a healthy respect for exercise by taking them out and exercising them when they're young, taking them out when you're exercising, and making it fun and making it a part of their lives, This is nothing about forcing people to do anything. This is about just how you grow up your children, how you raise your children, in some aspects, I've done a great job of raising my son. And in other aspects, I've done a really crappy job. And one of those aspects was through drink, alcohol, smoking cigarettes, and just putting those in as a sort of a normalized part of life, And as I've said many times before, that will be forever in my shame. But like most parents, you do good things, and some parts of you are pretty good as like most parents. We do some things well, and other things we don't do so well. That's just life, I think all parents are going to suffer from that for one degree or another. But I'm saying that we are the first teachers, right? We have to sort of tell our kids, alcohol is a drug. No matter what they'll tell you outside, this is a drug. Cigarettes is a drug. I've spoken about this on a few occasions as well, and I know that my knowledge of this side of alcoholism is not that great at the moment, right? On how to do this, how to deal with this, and how to teach people, how to teach young people, how to get them to shy away from this drug or any drug, and to look at life as being a drug in itself, life and just living life. We've got more opportunities nowadays than we have ever had in our entire history before, and regardless of what people think about, the past was a great time. This is a good time, science, technology. This is all creating a great world. It's how you look at this world and how you use that technology and that science. This is where the problems lie. It's not in the actual technology itself, And the more advanced we get, the more opportunities there are for education, for careers, for health especially. And the more important it's going to be in the future for our children to grow up in a world where they have the full use of their faculties, right? that their brain is not being compromised in any way, shape or form. And all alcohol is ever going to do is compromise your brain, right? It doesn't matter if you're only an occasional drinker. In my mind, you're putting a toxin into your system which is going to have effects, right? There is a cause and effect. And the cause and effect is not just the cause is you drinking alcohol and the effect is you getting drunk. There's more long-term effects to this. There's more to this than, meets the eye. That's what appears to you, I drink this, it helps me to relax and it helps me to socialize. But what the fuck is going on underneath all that, underneath the surface? What's going on beneath, in your brain after the drunkenness is worn off? What happens then? Because the alcohol is still in there. It's still doing stuff, It's still interfering with the chemical balances that are in your brain. It's still doing something inside your brain, And the more you drink, the more of a detrimental cost that's going to be. Look at the amount of people that die every year from alcohol. Look at the amount of people, the amount of conditions that are caused through drinking alcohol. Over 200, right? As I said, many previous videos, 1/4 of the worldwide population who die, who are between the ages of 20 and 39. So our young people are killed as a result of drinking alcohol. So the responsibility lies with the parents first and foremost for not, in those formative years, those first 4 or 5 years, and throughout their childhood, just don't drink. Don't have the alcohol in your house. Don't encourage your children to do that. I wish I could go back and start over again to when I was 24, 25, when my son was born. And I wish I could not drink, and not ever bring that into the house and never bring it into my son's awareness as something that I do, or that my wife did, She'd definitely be still alive now if it wasn't for the alcohol, if we'd have changed that one thing then. But we didn't, so there's no point looking back. What I'm saying is there's so many people who will listen to this video who have got that opportunity in their lives, who have got that opportunity to open themselves up and to really think about what alcohol is. That this is a toxin, first and foremost. It's a drug. It's a drug that causes more harm than any other drug bar nicotine, right? You've got 3.5 million people dying every year from drinking alcohol, from alcohol use, 3.3 million. You've got 5 million people dying every year worldwide from smoking, from using nicotine, right? And all the rest of the drugs combined, right? This is all the rest of the illegal drugs combined. I'm not talking about pharmaceuticals because that's a completely different story, right? But all the rest of the illegal drugs combined, heroin, cocaine, angel dust, crack, all that shit, right? That amounts to about 250,000, right? So it's only a drop in the ocean compared to what the legal drugs are killing. And these are the things that we're encouraging our children to do. So, if I can get one parent to stop drinking or to stop smoking, and think about their children and think about what example they're giving to the children, then it's worthwhile me making this video. It's worthwhile me making all these videos, and that's going to be my goal in life, is to try and encourage young people not to do this, not to even start this, not to want to start it, that's the whole fucking point. There are a lot more young people now who are saying, I don't want to do this, right? Why would I want to fucking get drunk? I'm out with my mates, I'm having fun and stuff like that. What do I want to introduce alcohol for? There's more and more people that are coming to that acceptance, right? And a lot of that's down to their parents and stuff, and how their parents have taught them. A lot of it's down to their culture, what their culture is teaching them, their particular culture, not the wide culture that they're living in, because our wide culture is the society in general is causing us to drink, you know. I mean, there's advertising out there, there's, you know, everywhere you look there's alcohol, and it's getting more and more normalized as a normalized part of who we are. But I'm talking about their little community, their friends, right? That culture that they are developing for themselves is keeping them away from alcohol. You know, I mean, 60% of the world population don't drink. So, you know, you're in the minority when you do drink, not when you don't drink. So maybe just not in our countries, you know, but there's something to be said for starting out and educating your children from an early age. So, look, if you have any questions about this at all, if you have any comments, then leave them down below. Go over to the website, you'll find the audio underneath the video on the post. If you want to get a copy of Hang Loose Without Booze, which will help you to relax and de-stress yourself, you know, help you to sort of be in a better frame of mind to look after your kids, you know. I know it's a tough job, without resorting to alcohol, you know. Then do that. You know, just come over and sign up for the newsletter. If you've already signed up and you haven't got a copy of it, then just shoot me an email at kevin@alcoholmastery.com and I'll send you a link to that. You can go over to Udemy and get it on Udemy. So yeah, basically, you know, I know it's a stressful job, looking after kids, bringing up kids, but, you know, alcohol is only going to add to your stress, right? You know, in the long term, it doesn't help you stress at all. It doesn't help you to relax. It just builds up more stress because of the damage that you're causing, right? Damage that you're causing to your body, damage that you're causing to your mind. There's a lot better ways of de-stressing and finding relaxation without doing that. And it's never too late to teach your kids, right? You know, sort of I beat myself up for a long while about this in my past. I've thought about it and thought, well, yeah, I wish I hadn't have done that, hadn't have drank. But at the end of the day, I'm doing it now. For the last 3.5 years, I've been doing it, and I'll continue to do that. And I'll continue to sort of encourage my son to stop drinking and stop smoking, especially when he starts having children himself, you know, not to bring that as a part of their lives, you know, to sort of give them that early start in life and to give them that's the best, one of the best gifts that you can sort of give your kids. But it's never too late. Like I say, my child is now a full-grown man, and I'm still there, I'm still working on it. So, you know, if you're a parent and you listen to this, I hope you got something out of that message. I hope you found something of value. And until next time, stay safe, keep the alcohol out of your mouth, keep it out of your family. Don't be encouraging your own children to use alcohol at all, whether you're doing it intentionally or unintentionally. Until next time, I'm Kevin O'Hara for Alcohol Mastery. Take care, onwards and upwards.